Hey everybody, this is Cameron from Obnoxious and Anonymous. Today I'm once again joined by James, and we are here to talk about the trailer that has just leaked for Mark Frost's upcoming book, The Secret History of Twin Peaks.
I felt that the trailer was just very much a back to basics sort of overdue thing for Twin Peaks fans to enjoy at the moment. And overall, just, it showed you what the book contains, the kind of gist of it, but without any spoilers, really, of course. Just basically harked back to that whole 1990s technology, early 90s technology. And I just really liked that. It just felt a little bit more subtle, a little bit more, dare I say, Frostian. And it made me think this new show's actually going to be really good and not make you want to go and start a new prescription of Prozac and things. It just felt cohesive somehow. And yeah, I really want to pick this up and I'm going to have a look at it. And, what more can you want, really?
For me, I was a little bit nervous because whenever you start showing me coffee, pie, logs, I'm thinking it's dangerously close to becoming like camp. This is what Twin Peaks fans want to see, and here we're going to give it to them. However, I will say that this trailer does it as well as it could be. It's done, like you said, very subtly, very tastefully. Now, some of the things they show in the trailer does get me a little bit worried that it is going to be a lot of filler stuff in this book. However, I do want to say that they're not going to show us anything of real substance in this trailer. So I'm hoping a lot of the good stuff is still left to come. But James, why don't we look at the trailer and let's discuss it.
Yep, let's bust this bitch.
So the trailer begins with this package brought in from Gordon Cole, and it's being opened. The address is to somewhere in Twin Peaks, and somebody is opening it up, presumably from the FBI. It is then followed by 2 pages of writing. It says things like, this is engine country, no doubt. There's also writings about somebody named DB. Even though it's the wrong time frame, it makes you, of course, think about DB Cooper, the mysterious robber that escaped up in the Pacific Northwest with all that money. So it must reference this other name in here, Denver Bob.
Now we've got another Bob, obviously, and everybody, as soon as someone hears the name Bob, they think immediately of Killer Bob. And it seems like there's something of a theme, if anything, in this of reoccurrence. And, the idea of it is happening again and 25 years later, etc. I mean, these things have got to be coming into the novel, of course.
Well, there's also a line here that says, a week of searching for this mine, and it sure isn't where it said. So on that map, we took off that fella in Yakima. So obviously they're still bringing in, Kyle MacLachlan's hometown. But, the show's been doubling up Mike and Bobby, ever since episode, 1. So
true. That's another thing. Yeah, that's pretty much there from the start.
Now we get this cup of coffee, which looks like oil in it. The next thing we see is Douglas Milford, Twin Peaks, Washington, and he's bought a car. And you'll notice that this is one of 2 references to Douglas Milford in this trailer. So, obviously, while it may be kind of a throwaway thing just to kind of talk about, the citizens of Twin Peaks, I don't think it's an accident. They keep bringing him up. The next thing we see is what looks like, I don't know what this is. It's sort of like an aviation report or something that is talking about, things that people have seen in the sky. It describes silver, very bright. Greater than a star, kind of probably aspects of the Project Blue Book.
The reactions to it may be quite many and varied, but I'm sort of all for it. I think it's good that something from the decried second season, is brought in, and it's sort of there in this book to obviously because it's going to weigh in on this new season. So I just find that promising. I'm not saying, obviously, I think some people react. I've been talking to one guy called Asfan, and he sort of I don't want the show to become like the X-Files. But that's the last thing, I see happening. I fully trust in Frost and Lynch, of course, in the sort of sense of yeah, we've got all this kind of UFO type business going on, but this is just a part of popular culture. You know, you could bring in whatever the hell you want, grab any old crap out of the National Enquirer or, Urban Myths, bring them all in, but then seen through the Twin Peaks kind of perspective. That's what's important, really.
Okay,
I just don't,
does this
you know,
asshat even realize that the X-Files stole its whole plot from Twin Peaks?
I just don't like the idea, of course, that some people think that Twin Peaks is going to go full Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. You know, if that happens, then I will eat my words. But I just say to Twin Peaks fans that is never going to happen. Don't worry. There's not going to be a massive spinning gargantuan disc erupt from the Twin Peaks themselves. You know, and it might be a ratings winner, but it's not going to happen. So
Yes, we won't see Andy swinging on some vines with a bunch of monkeys. Then we have the pie. Doesn't look particularly appetizing.
I think they've done that on purpose. Yeah.
So then we have this thing that talks about Kenneth Arnold and about how he is 32 years of age and he saw 9 strange objects flying over the Cascade Mountains of Washington State.
If you look at the actual Owl Cave petroglyph on that, there are actually 9 circles spotted around it, which they're circles, and then inside them, maybe I'm not sure about it, but I think one of them might be the Owl Cave one, and the other ones are different sigils. We see some of these hung up behind Cooper in a later episode, but it's interesting that maybe Frost is obviously trying to relate things back and forth between what's already happened in the show and then with these new things about whether they're UFOs or something coming from, maybe it's Black Lodge, more like, maybe the whole UFO thing is kind of more like a cover thing for the Black Lodge.
Well, we've already know this. I mean, that's the thing that's kind of strange about all this, is that we already know that this has nothing to do with UFOs, that the signals that Major Briggs was talking about from Project Blue Book was coming from the woods, not outer space. So I don't know why we're dealing with all these UFO stuff when it's clear that the Black Lodge was putting out these signals, not aliens.
Well, if the book comes out and it's like, it literally is 350 pages of UFO sightings of spinning silver discs, then I will be very worried. But I genuinely don't think that's going to be the case. So
the next thing is Margaret Coulson, who goes by Maggie. It's about when Margaret went missing and came back with parts of the petroglyph. She was 65 pounds at the time. Isn't that how much Josie Packard weighed when they found her body?
Yeah, something like that. It's very similar. But do you not think it's quite strange how Foster's? It says her maiden name was Coulson, so they've kind of done that as a tribute.
This report was taken apparently in 1947 when Margaret was 7 years old, so that makes sense why she was 65 pounds. Then we get a U.S. Air Force enlistment form for Douglas Milford. Of course, the picture looks like Wyndham Earle, but it's not. This is the second reference to who is to become Mayor Milford in the series. So again, why are we staying with this character? Is it just because Mark Frost wants to talk about the history of the town itself? Or is there more going on with the Milford storyline that we don't know about yet?
With Dougie running the Twin Peaks Gazette, that obviously will figure largely in the book because of various crimes and all the different sort of things that have gone on in the town over the years. But his brother, of course, was also the mayor, and we saw him in the first off in the pilot episode. So I think it's fair enough to have them in, and I don't see any problem with having them in as long as it's not every mention of them is something leading into a sort of comical interlude for the book, really. I mean, I don't mind a bit of comedy in there, but
I do find it interesting that his permanent address at the time was in San Francisco. So it moves on, and the next thing we get is a postcard, which is written by Norma Jennings to her mom and dad. when she was visiting Hollywood. I think it's interesting that she says, lots of love, Norma, and then in parentheses, and Hank. There is no mention of her sister Annie. Like, say hi to my sister or anything like that. So it's interesting that we're getting this postcard, which ultimately means nothing. It's just, again, filler. But all right, it's cool to see that Norma wrote her parents a letter when she was in Burbank.
I think the whole thing of relatives and the relationships between the families and things is obviously something which is going to be important. I hope that MT Wentz comes into the book, actually. That would be my dream.
Yeah. I'd like to see MT Wentz's review of the Double R Diner. Okay, so then we get the Log Lady's log sitting on a table. And we then get what I feel will be the introductory page to the book, which is the interoffice memorandum from Gordon Cole to somebody, we don't know yet, who is a special agent. It says things like, the accompanying material is confidential and approved for your eyes only. The content of the dossier appears to have some relationship to a investigation conducted in Northwest Washington State many moons ago by Special Agent Dale Cooper, who worked under my command at that time. So that suggests that he no longer works with Gordon Cole or the FBI.
The dossier sort of contents were discovered at a crime scene. This is what Gordon Cole mentions, which I don't know if he means the entire contents of this book we're going to be looking at, which seems, I suppose it's possible. Anyway, wherever it was. So if it was in an office or something, who knows? So anyway, to go back to the very start, in fact, when we see when we see the packaging of the box being unopened, it's not really that obvious unless you really study it close up and everything. And especially to me, because I'm from the UK, I don't know how the labeling is there, but it says to and then TP as the first and second names.
Right.
So it's to somebody in Twin Peaks with the same letters as Twin Peaks, and I mean, obviously P, the second one, it makes you think is the name Teresa Palmer or something, and it's from Gordon Cole. So presumably that's him sending it to the FBI agent whose name starts TP.
Right.
So it's not Diane, and apparently Naomi Watts does not play a FBI agent. So it's whoever is playing the FBI agent who's in Twin Peaks. So this is where the show presumably begins, pretty much. So basically the book we're going to be reading is what was found at the crime scene. But
well, the reason why I think this is the introductory letter or pages of the book is because it says, roll up your sleeves and get to work on this thing. Time is of the essence, and get back to me with your findings ASAP. So that says to me, like, roll up your sleeves and get ready to dive into this book.
Yeah, but it also, after that, it says P.S. Once you've, looked through this, all these files and obviously done your detective work on it, then get back to me, because I may have some more things for you to look into,
And then after that, we get the cover of the book, The Secret History of Twin Peaks, and then obviously goes to the analog video, and I like how it freezes, and then it says October 18th, 2016 by Flatiron Books. It's a very good trailer. I think there's a lot of fun in there. I can't wait to finally dive in and see what Mark Frost has in store for us.